Good afternoon, students. Today, on this auspicious day of Bengali New Year, we are going to discuss a very important topic from your MA 4th semester syllabus under the course 2.4.3b. Today's topic, I am going to write it down. You please copy it in your exercise books. So today I am going to discuss with you the first unit under this topic, that would be access, equity and how to obtain universalization of secondary education. So again I am going to write it down, the particular topic that we are going to discuss today. You write it down, then I will wipe it out. Now we all know there exists wide disparity in schooling facilities in India. So the exact problem in access to secondary education right now in India is wide disparity. So this is the problem. Now when we have identified the problem, what would be the solution? The solution is naturally development of infrastructural facilities in the secondary school system to give wider access to the children of India. So this is the problem. The solution is write it down, then I will again wipe it out, clear. Now let us elaborate the solutions to give wider access to secondary education in India. Here I am writing the short forms to save time. As for example, SR means secondary, EDN means education, we all know. So the first thing that can be done is the expansion of existing secondary and higher secondary schools. That will give more and more access to the children to have quality education. First point, expansion. Expansion of what? Expansion of the existing secondary and higher secondary schools. Now the second point would be how to obtain this expansion. We may constitute new schools, or we can also upgrade the existing upper primary schools, junior high schools to secondary and higher secondary schools. So the second point would be upgradation. Now, as I have told you, opening of new secondary schools and higher secondary schools, that can be also a point that we can include in our answers. Now you write it down. After that again I will write it out. Now another important thing to give wider access to secondary education to our children is to make the schools more and more disabled friendly, so that the differently able children can also get access to those schools. So the next point is making those schools disable friendly. Again, infrastructural facilities should be enhanced, should be much and much more than whatever we have nowadays in present condition. So the next point would be improvement in the existing infrastructural facilities. Now dear students, we all know what we mean by infrastructural facilities, like we have to enrich those schools with blackboards, laboratories, computer labs, libraries, toilets, separate toilets for boys and girls in co-ed schools, like this. Then, without teachers there cannot be any quality education. Therefore, obviously, we need to recruit new teachers by state and central policies, the guidelines that they provide, those government authorities. So the next point is appointment of new teachers. Now, not only by appointing new teachers, we can give better access to the children in secondary education in India. We have to give in-service training to the existing teachers. because continuous upgradation of knowledge, that means professional development of the teachers who are in service, is also needed. Now you write it down. Now in India, in rural areas also, there are so many secondary schools. So in those rural areas, we have to build up, means government agencies in PPP mode if necessary. They have to build residential accommodations for the teachers. So another important point can be now, why I have chosen the rural areas? Because in urban areas there is, better opportunities for transport and all those things, and also accommodation. But in rural areas there is scarcity of proper accommodation. So, in rural areas specifically, building of residential complexes for teachers are necessary. Now let us move on to the next point of today's discussion. This is equity in secondary education. Now, equity and equality are two related terms that influence our secondary education. Now, what is meant by equity? Equity is giving everyone what they need to be successful. I repeat, equity is giving everyone what they need to be successful. In this context, to be successful in secondary education. Then what is equality? Equality is treating everyone the same. That means there should not be any discrimination. So, equality aims to promote fairness, but it can only work if everyone starts from the same place and needs the same help. So, unless and until we provide equity to our secondary students, we cannot implement equality among them. Now, how to enhance equity in secondary education? So, our point of discussion right now would be how to enhance equity in secondary education. how to enhance equity in secondary education. First point would be to provide free lodging, boarding to students belonging to specifically SC, ST, OBC and other minority groups, even if needed to religious minorities also in our country. So the first point would be providing free lodging and boarding facilities. The next point would be cash incentives, uniform, books, separate toilets for girls also, that I have been discussing in the previous section, previous topic. So residential schools, cash incentive, uniform, books, separate toilets, etc. should be provided. We know that in India there is about 80% people right now who have difficulties in providing their children with these things. So the governments, central government as well as the state government, they have to take the responsibility to provide these things in subsidized manner, or even if possible free, completely free, to provide equity in secondary education. Next, provisions for free scholarships. Now, inclusive education also should be provided. Inclusive education, these things are nowadays very much in discussion in secondary education, school education. Now write it down again, then I will wipe it out. Another important thing to provide equity in secondary education would be to arrange open and distance education. This will help the existing students as well as the students who have left out from the schools for whatever reasons, because they can also then access secondary education, which will again enhance the equity factor in secondary education. So, what are the necessary steps to provide equity, better equity in secondary education? Number one would be enhanced involvement of everyone concerned. Enhanced involvement of everyone concerned. Then reforms in educational administration. Educational administration should be enhanced because for teacher recruitment, new teacher recruitment, in-service training, curriculum renewal, and everything, even for improved evaluation systems, we need reforms in educational administration. And to do all those things, to implement these things, we need to develop, that means governments, the government authorities, the bodies assigned to provide or enhance equity in secondary education, they have to build public opinion, general public opinion. So building of then these things will implement equity and education, and in secondary institutions there should not be any discriminations among the citizens of India on the basis of religion, caste, creed, gender, ability, etc. No discrimination. So obviously, if we are able to follow these steps to provide better opportunity, access, to improve equity and implement equality among the students of secondary education in India, what we will achieve? We will achieve universalization of secondary education. Now that is our goal, to universalize secondary education. Then how, if the question comes how to improve universalization of secondary education, we can respond to that question and we can answer to that question successfully, that the points whatever I have discussed today under the heading access and equity in secondary education, we can arrange those points, and ultimately those things will lead to universalization of secondary education. By this, today I conclude my class. Thank you very much. Stay home, stay safe.